Oh boy, guys, the movie I've been dying to talk about is finally here. This was one of my most anticipated movies of the year. I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to see it in a theater or how I was going to be able to see it. I was willing to do whatever I could to see this movie. I donated to the Kickstarter to make this movie not necessarily happen, right, but more expand its distribution. I was lucky it got to play to a theater near me. I sat in the theater and I really enjoyed this movie. Let me explain my feelings going into this movie. I think I made it clear I don't like Donald Trump as a person, as a politician. But that's not really why I was interested in this movie, because at the end of the day, I was interested in this movie as, number one, taking a stance against freedom violation of freedom of speech. Trump and his campaign are trying to stop this movie from being released just because they don't like the contents of this movie. This movie is all based on first-hand accounts of things that actually happen. It may not be word for word or beat for beat exact. There's obviously some liberties taken to make it a film more entertaining. But for the most part, most of the majorly important beats that happen in this movie are based on first-hand accounts. I don't know how much is true, how much is not. A lot of the stuff that I know going into the film was represented pretty well, and I was able to recognize a lot of stuff. So all I'm saying is this, is that that's one reason I was interested in this movie. Also, I was interested in this movie because no matter how bad or good this movie was going to be, it was going to be an interesting movie, which is not something I could say for like the Reagan movie or things like that. So I sat in theater, and I was hesitant because I had seen some early reviews for this movie saying that it's made by leftists. You can tell it's made by leftists. It's kind of one note, and you feel that in the trailer a little bit, where this movie is about Trump being mentored by a guy named Roy Cohn, and he gives him some advice like attack, 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 never admit defeat. These are all real things that the real life Trump took to heart and does, but it seems a little too on the nose, right? I'm like, okay, like, yeah, I get what you're trying to say, but I don't know. But seeing it in the theater, this is a more nuanced movie than I expected. It was a very interesting movie that I don't feel like the only way you'd be able to know that this film is made by someone of a certain political affiliation is by just knowing the fact that a Republican would never make a movie talking bad about Trump. He is their god, he is their king, he is their dictator. But at the end of the day, for the most part, you wouldn't be able to tell. I think people who are saying that they're able to tell are people who are wildly incorrect. I think they just are done with politics, and I get that. But at the end of the day, I don't think this film had much to do with politics at all. I think this movie is very much a movie that is a character study on a man who, yes, was our president at one point, but it's set before any of that. There obviously is some political implications in this movie, in the sense that Trump has always kind of meddled, and his family have always kind of meddled in politics and done some pretty deplorable stuff. Like, one of the main incidents in this movie is a real life thing that happened, that Trump and his family were trying to deny black people spaces at their hotels and things like that because of their race, which obviously was against civil rights laws, and they were able to, the government was able to crack down on that and stop that bullshit. But these are real things that Trump's family did. So yes, there is political elements to this movie, but that's not the point of this movie. The point of this movie is to show you that this character study of Trump and where he came from and how he came to be kind of the person we know. And I think that's such a great thing, because I was reading an interview with Sebastian Stan where he's talking about how people talk about Trump like he's like some kind of alien from outer space. And honestly, it makes sense, right? Rich people are not on our level, and so we don't really fully understand them. We don't really. All of us are fascinated by that. And in this movie, they show you that side of Trump. They show you that he is fascinated by the rich, white, elitists who have money, who have power. He wants that for himself, and it's about him working to get there by abusing people, taking advantage of people, whatever he can to get to that point, which are real things we know he did. But also make you understand why he's fascinating with that life. It doesn't make you agree with him. It doesn't really make you side with him in any form. He is a monster in this movie. Not the monster that we would come to know him as, but I think it's a really fascinating character study on that front. My biggest criticism with this movie, I felt like this is a master and apprentice story, right? This is about Roy Cohn mentoring the real Donald Trump, which is true that guy really did in real life. But yeah, I didn't really feel that. Like, for about the first hour or so, you really feel their friendship, but at a certain point, he just goes down this wild downfall, and that wild downfall, I felt like we didn't see enough of it, which makes me almost think that this movie would have been better off if it was a TV show or a mini-series, because there are so much fascinating aspects to Donald Trump and his life and his story beyond him being president that are fascinating. And then also being able to further go into this story of Roy Cohn. But it worked for what it was going for. I really did love this film. The performances were great. I think the biggest standout here is Sebastian Stan. I think there's going to be Oscar noms for some of the actors in this movie, which is fair, because at the end of the day, the Oscars hates Trump. This movie's not positive on Trump. I could see that. And it's not like it wouldn't be undeserved anyways, even if there wasn't that political aspect of them not liking him, right? But, like, it would be deserved for Sebastian Stan. Like, if Sebastian Stan won, I haven't seen all the movies that are coming out at the end of the year, but this was one I could easily see maybe possibly being a good choice for him to win. Because he does some really challenging stuff in this movie where he doesn't do a Trump voice, but yet somehow completely embodies every mannerism and aspect of Trump. He moves the way Trump does. He blinks almost the way Trump does. It's fascinating, and he's really fucking good in this movie. He is incredibly well done. And I think some people might be, well, why are you not trying to sound like the real guy? I think that's smart, because Trump parodies have become so prominent, which is obviously why. I mean, the guy is a cartoon character in real life, if you really think about it. But, like, so if you were to try to mimic that voice, it would be very difficult and not work out well. And so him not even trying for that, and yet still managing to be Donald Trump. Like, I did not see Sebastian Stan. I just saw Donald Trump on the screen, which is incredibly fascinating, and makes this easily one of the best performances of the year. The look to this film was really great. The way it tried to capture that 70s and 80s look to it all looked really great. It's just a great movie that, honestly, I think the best way to watch this film is to really delete the political aspect of this film, because it's not a political movie, despite how many people and the news media will talk about it that way. That's not what this film is. Delete that from your mind. Go to this movie and just pretend that you're watching a character study of a fictional character, and you will be utterly immersed in this person, in this story. And I think you will be the better for it. It is fucking phenomenal. Check out this film. Let me know your thoughts. Like, share, and subscribe.